Welcome to my channel. This is Annie. I'm going to be talking about setting up an altar and give some options for those who want to keep it maybe more private if they share space and they can't keep their altar out permanently. Simple altar setups with inexpensive materials. Also, like if you're in an apartment and you can't use candles or have an open flame or use smoke, etc. But if you're someone new and you don't have a lot of support, then these are some ways that maybe you could have an altar and be able to worship the way, be spiritual the way you want to be. Now this, my aunt made for me, and it's a little portable altar. Now she made this to put in your car so that if you needed it, and it's a cute little box, sorry about the glare, box or whatever you want to call it, a little can. And what she has put in it is first a little altar cloth, and this is, you don't need an altar cloth, but if you are working some space where you don't know what's been cleared, then having a little cloth like this is perfect. You can also, you don't need anything this fancy. If you've got a kerchief, this is one that I have used as an altar cloth before. You can make an altar cloth just sewing a couple pieces of material together. I also found fabric that I thought was, could make from the Dollar Tree. I found some dark fabric that you could use. You just want to make sure that you clean it and clear the space that you're in if you're going to do any kind of spell work. Now in her little altar kit, she added some stones, some dark and light, because basically that's what you would need. She also, for dark and light for balance, she also made this little candle holder out of a dowel, and I think she must have had some sort of like Dremel. So that is the little birthday cake. She made a little candle holder, like I said, out of a dowel. And she used just a birthday candle in it. She added some extra candles. She also added some sage, and in here she put the strike part for the stick matches. So this is something you could use if you needed a portable altar. Something that I would add into it might be little vials of salt and water, because those are also great things to have on hand if you're doing any kind of spell work. All of them are for clearing the space. The fire. So for myself, I always make sure that I have salt, and I have a container for my salt on my altar. I always have something with water in it. Now, it doesn't have to be bowls. Like I said, it could be vials. It could be little glass containers, little jelly jars, mason jars, little jars like, this you can get from the Dollar Tree or, craft stores. You also, if you're going to use candles, it's great to have a candle holder and something to hold your candles in. If you're using something like the birthday candles, it can stand up in a little bowl with sand or with salt in it. So it could be dual purpose. Part of what you're using for your altar is you have your candle, can be here, your water, your salt, and any of your workings you'd put here. That's just a very simple, basic altar. If you want to put more types of candles, you can. If you don't have, or if you're in a spot where you can't use fire, then you could use like electric candles, not electric candles, but the battery operated candles for some of the light. You don't, to set up your altar, if you're using it for your own worship, spirituality, like an ancestral altar, it doesn't have to have any of the salt or water or candles. It could have pictures. It could have representation of that person. So if I were doing something safe for my father, I would put his picture. I would put things that meant things to me and him. Or if it's an ancestor that you didn't know a lot about, maybe you knew what his occupation was, you could put things that represent that. If you're doing an altar that is for a working altar for doing spell work, then you do want to have some way of clearing that altar space. Now, you can clear your altar with incense. You can use sticks, or you can use cone incense. You can also use smoke, like from the incense, smoke from the incense. But you can use, this is white sage. So you can light white sage and smoke your altar to clear. You can also use, so along with smoke and having candles for fire, you can use the water, the salt, and you can use sound. You can just use a bell and keep that on your altar to clear it with the bell. You can use your voice if you don't have these things. You can drum. You can do any of those things to just clear and move the energy. It doesn't have to be expensive. And it is all about the intention. What the intention that you have in your heart that you're putting out there. If you're doing spell work, for example, my spell work is always done in light and love. It's always done in the greatest and highest good. So a lot of my workings, I use a lot of writing. So I always keep a pencil and paper handy for that. To make sure that you knew that anything that you're using here, you don't have to have things. You don't have to go out and buy things. Most of the things that I have had, I've accumulated over time. But it doesn't have to be expensive if you want to have an altar space. Like I said, I love the fact that this is small, that you can pull it out, you can have it hidden if you need to keep it hidden. You can get different color of the little birthday candles, and they could be put into sand in a little bottle, so that, if you had something like this and put some sand in it, some salt in it, to hold it up. Always be careful with fire, of course. Really, what it's about for spell work or for having an altar for me is to open my heart for the divine to come in. It's the time that I can spend setting my intentions for the greatest and highest good for myself, for people around me, for healing for others, for healing for myself. I don't do any kind of hexes or things like that. That's not how my magic works. I always accept the divine through myself. As I said before, I do Reiki, and I consider myself a healer. I have had shamanism classes, and I have a mesa, and I have that on my altar. I keep stones on my altar because that's how I started in this path, was through healing and using crystals and other stones. I've always been attracted to stones. Ever since I was a little girl, I always collected them and found them very beautiful, and had them set up all around my room, just the rocks, granite from my home state. When I found pink granite, I thought that was amazing. So, and now, so wherever I travel, if I find different kinds of granite, I'm very attracted to that strength of that stone. I found orange, I found pink, I have white, and I feel like each one of them connects with me, connects with the earth, connects with my higher power. Altar, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to have a lot of stuff. It's your intentions that you set. Whatever your deity, your higher power, your universal spiritual guide. When I started, that was one of my big things holding me back. And what I want to say is, don't let things hold you back. Don't let that monetary or having things hold you back from doing this. That being said, I wish you bright blessings. I hope that everything that you are seeking, you find. And my prayer is for peace in this world, and that everyone feels loved and appreciated, and that you find your place, because you are wanted and you are enough, and choose to be happy, because life is just too short to not be. So take care.